The conversation continues, and we said every Friday, 9 to 10 a.m. will be Healthy Fridays. And Healthy Friday conversation, Her Majesty herself is here in royal blue. You said that is royal blue?
It's royal blue.
Royal blue.
Okay. She has removed the jacket, but when
so the jacket was more royal
she was
than
even
this
walking
It was
in
more
a
royal.
royal manner
Right.
when she came in.
Hey.
You can write a book
Yeah.
or a poem.
Her Majesty Dr. Mercy KORIR is here with us to have this conversation with us. Mercy, how are you?
Very well, thank
You're well?
you, Eric. Yes, I'm good.
Sindio?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
You think you've heard things? Wait till you hear today's proverb.
Okay.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing.
All year.
And sing.
Auntie, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
A little perspective and background here. This is a proverb written by human beings.
You
And this-
clearly don't have sharp ears if you've not heard.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear. Okay? Now, this is the thing about human beings and interpreting a proverb that someone already interpreted for us. That's why it's called a proverb. See, we don't know whether ants sing or not, but this human who wrote this assumed that they do. What I'd really like to read is an ant proverb written about human beings and interpreted in a language that human beings can understand.
So you're assuming that
Until the-
ants write.
They do. The fact that we don't understand what they do or what they use for writing doesn't mean they don't write.
Until the lion learns to write. Tales of the Hunter. Have you what? Yo.
Yes, they'll continue dominating the airwaves.
Hey.
So what does this proverb mean?
Ask City.
Siafu akimba wimbo,
Hautasikia.
ukiwa we ni binadamu na uwe na sikio ambayo inasikia yale ambayo haisikiki, bado hutasikia.
Kwa hivyo wachana na masikio.
Achana na mambo ya siafu. Jihusishe na mambo ya kibinadamu ambayo unaelewa. Yes. Wachana na mambo ya siafu.
Siafu ni
There
siafu.
are things you will not understand. You see, many of our languages, hearing and understanding is the same word. Yes. So, yes, there are things that are definitely and distinctly beyond your comprehension. There will be those things. And you must understand that this one you cannot comprehend. Now, it's at that point where you now seek those who perhaps know a little better than you to, should we say, open up this particular matter. Now, that having been said, it is the reason why you are here, because you are a medical expert. So there are things that you know that the rest of us talk, think, maybe play around with knowing, but we actually don't know. So we have you here to clarify. So even our sharpest ear cannot hear.
What you say here. This year. Okay. Back to the health conversation. Last week we were talking about what we'd like to see the new governors or the returning governors doing with the health sector. And you said two things. One, let's all have a conversation about how we are financing health. And two, let's have a conversation about how we are managing the health workforce. Higher. The question, though, is so far has, devolution, health is a devolved function, then we've seen governors doing this and the other and promising heaven and earth, and many building hospitals, many now dealing with workers, others having run-ins with their workforce, others firing their workers, and all these things. Has devolution worked in health? Like, have we seen, what we can say is progress commensurate with all the effort that has been put into this?
I think it has in two ways. And if anything, you've seen almost all the new governors, especially the first-time ones. Everyone has come in, and the first point of visit, let me not say showing up, has been the county referral hospital. We've seen the Laikipia governor reinstate healthcare workers who had been fired for 40 months, I think. And despite a court ruling to reinstate them, the previous governor had refused, or rather had not reinstated them. Let me not say refused, had not reinstated them.
But if he hadn't reinstated them, how exactly do you define refusal? That is refusal, in black and white, surely. If he had wanted to reinstate them, or are we saying that there was a legal impediment?
Maybe they're
that
the ones who had
prevented
refused
him?
to come back.
There was a whole court order. there were trips to the county office, but they never got reinstated until now when the new governor came in. Yeah. So if anything, that shows you that the county bosses are taking health seriously and importantly, which is a big plus considering where we've come from as a country where health was just a by the way. And still, many see it as an expense and not really as an enabler for development, not really as, the thing that will improve the productivity of the people. So on that aspect, we have improved, or devolution has made health an important aspect of any county boss. The second bit is now looking at the progress of some of the counties for the last 10 years. Obviously, some are still lagging behind in terms of just infrastructure development, healthcare workforce employment, and even planning ahead for the counties. But considering, for example, pre-devolution, counties like Mandera, you could hardly have any CS done. I think it was first done after devolution. Makindu now does joint replacements. If you want a knee replacement, a hip replacement, it can be done. Wajir, the other day, one of my former classmates is doing hip replacements. So if you look at it like that, there's been significant improvement in that some services have been devolved and they're able to reach other people. But are we comfortable with where we are? I do not think so. I think we have only just scratched the surface and there's a lot more that needs to be done.
What's not happening? Because maybe that could give us a clear picture of then what you need to do if you see that this and this and this is not happening that ought to be happening.
I think one of the things, health is, it's resource intensive. Let me give an example. If I have a wound, if you clean my wound with that gauze and that betadine or spirit, whatever it is you're using, you cannot reuse them. It means you discard them. The gloves you're using, you discard them. They have to be replaced. So there has to be a proper thinking, planning, and alignment of the supply chain of the commodities that are needed in health sector. So as basic as those gauzes, as serious as the medicines and all the other products and technologies that are used to provide healthcare services. So one of the things, and probably I hope it's one of the key things that the new governments in the counties are thinking about, is how to make sure that this supply chain is not disrupted at any one point, that there's continuous supply of products, medicine, everything that is needed by healthcare workforce. I remember back then there used to be, in the treatment sheet or in the prescription, just you write OS. And if you have many OS, it means it's a problem. So it means out of stock. So you want paracetamol, OS. You want something, OS. So it means you can't really help somebody. And as you said, we are humans. If I come to the dispensary today for paracetamol and it's not there, I come tomorrow, I'll not come a third time. Because, if you do not have basic things like that, then it means you probably don't even have the more serious things. So I think a good place to start is to make sure that there's no disruption of healthcare service provision when it comes to products, technologies. The second thing, and ties back to what I said last week, is the issue of human resource. You can have all the fancy buildings, equipment, everything, but if you do not have the people to offer health services, there'll be nothing. If we have very fancy equipment here in this studio, but if you're not here, would the situation room happen?
Well,
It wouldn't.
That's what happens when it doesn't happen.
It's an interesting analogy, isn't it?
It is. But I'm just borrowing it from what Andrew Franklin is saying. So
that it doesn't happen.
it doesn't happen.
Well, okay. Bouncing on off what you've said. So, I mean, last week we then were privy to very interesting pictures that came out of particular county. And I'm just going to give a practical example now of the things that you're saying. So you have a list, OS. We're looking at an example of, again, patients sharing hospital beds, patients even having no beds, there are no mattresses. I forget which county this was, the new governor having come in to find that. Anyway, but those are the
No mattresses.
no beds. Some beds had no mattresses, so
Yeah.
some patients were sharing beds. Others, the story as per what they
Therefore,
were able to,
just pick any.
God
you will find a
knows.
hospital like that.
which is now where I was going with that, is that we see these pictures when somebody decides to do a whole, display of it. But the truth of the matter is that these situations are ongoing, whether somebody decides to shine a camera to point a camera at them. So then those to me are the pertinent issues. The out of stock list that you're talking about, the patients who are sleeping on the floor because of lack of beds. And here we are saying that the health system, as it were, is functioning. Can it really function if one part of it is in such bad state?
Definitely not. I mean, the whole has to be working for it to be, for us to say it's fully functional. But as it is, it's not. And the example you've given, let me give an example of the usual, or rather more often than not, the department, if I may call it that suffers is usually orthopedics. Because, and especially looking, for me, the border, I hope I do not get missiles thrown my way because of border, but for me it is a silent pandemic in that most of the people with broken limbs, head injuries would probably have been a border accident somewhere, especially when you go to...
It's the truth.
Dr. Let me
counties.
assist you here with this. You see, well, you want to tiptoe around this. Many hospitals are set up special wards
Yep.
for this
The
Yes.
cadre
border
of
accident
citizens.
units.
Yes.
Specific. And those wards are full
Yes.
because people who have been injured because they're in that line of work come in daily. It's not at weekly, daily. Yes.
And obviously, many of them will have broken limbs.
Yeah, so yes.
So orthopedics come in.
Orthopedics come in. And now you now think about it as a whole. How many orthopedic surgeons do we have in this country? I don't know the number, but they're not enough for every citizen. Not every county has orthopedic surgeons. And even if you had one, okay, let's say you have two in your hospital, how many people will they operate on in a day? And remember, that same operating theatre is probably where you're also doing...
Everything
It's
else,
that one operating theatre for everything else that needs theatre work.
including maternity.
Yes, and if you're lucky, if you're a big facility, maybe you have 3 theatres. But is orthopedics the only department that needs theatre? It is not. Then secondly, this is where I talk about now the products, commodities that are needed. You probably need an implant. It's not readily available. You have to privately procure it for you to get that joint fixed, and so it takes time. Or you cannot even afford to get that implant for your fracture. So what happens? Because you can't go home. You find I don't know if you've gone to any of these hospitals, you probably see somebody with their limb hanging somewhere
Yeah.
because it's part of traction, so that it can be fixed. So you have to use the traditional ways of fixing limbs, which take more time, and so you get more people occupying bed space. And what City is saying, it is every day there's somebody coming, so the input or the people coming in are more than those that are going out. So what do you do as a facility? Do you refuse to admit yet somebody has a broken limb? What do you do? So we have to look at it as a whole. Yes, we are saying it's good to have all of this, but with the resources that we have, what are we doing? With the people that we have already in hospital, what can we do to make sure that the discharge is higher than the people that we are admitting? And it comes now to some of these things where you need to make the facilities as they are, first of all, work efficiently.
Okay. Now, if you look at what you have said, that is the fact that governors, for example, that are coming in, the first point of call is the health sector. It tells you that it's a political issue. That also could mean that the decisions are being made with a political motive. So you come in here, you're a new governor, and you want to show that you can work better. So you make drastic changes to a health facility and how it's been operating without necessarily having first understood what the challenges have been, what the progress has been made, and what the plan has been going forward. So do you think that then politicizing, as we may call it, the health, is also a danger to advancing health?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. Politics plays a role up to a certain extent. And the extent for me is that there should be political goodwill for the health sector, because then it means, because everything is about prioritizing. It means if there's political goodwill, then funds or support to the health sector will be prioritized and will be done well, which is a plus. But when it comes to the technical work, I think that should be left to people who have gone to school and who have spent their time looking at how do we make this work. And it's not just the doctors. We have health economists. We have people whose specialization is in health systems.
Costing.
All of those. Those are the people now who should be given the space to be able to work and advise the governors and the county bosses on what needs to be done and what should be done well. You know, for me, the hallmark of a good leader is for them to know who is best to work with for what to deliver the results that they need. But if, for example, you're awarding, so I've seen so many advertisements for county executive committee members for all positions, including health, of course. If you're going to use those to reward loyalists, and not really think about it strategically, then that's where we'll have the problem. And so you'll get all these haphazard decisions and rules that will disadvantage the public, because at the end of the day, it's you and I who will suffer.
Dr. Mercy, this profession that you are aligned to by virtue of your training and your inclination, if I look at the way some of the private hospitals function, they, as the hospital, don't necessarily have all these experts that are required. However, there is something that people in your line of work, not this one that you and I have a commonality in, but the other one, this is your day job, not the other one.
The other one.
Yes. Where you have, are they called visitation rights or
Admission rights.
You might be onto something totally different there, Titi.
Oh, yeah.
where?
That one has tickled Eric a good
That's
one.
why I asked.
Mtu wako hospitali ako na visitation
Decision
rights.
right, yes. Daktari. Now, but it means you have a system that enables doctors who you don't necessarily employ, but you have an understanding with them so that, one, they are able to use your facilities to do the work that they need to do because they have patients. Now, is it possible that this clear and very wonderful thinking can be extended, say, for instance, some of these referral hospitals? Because even with the referral hospitals in the counties, all these counties have private facilities. And right now, with the road network and the transportation system that we have in this country, it is possible for someone not necessarily to be within your county. They can be outside your county, but they can come in to provide the services needed. I say this because I look at some of the specialists who come in to work on specifically children with cleft lips. Okay, I look at experts who come in to deal with eyes. They don't live, some of them don't even live in the country. But every once in a while, it is known well in advance when they are coming, and preparations are made for them to tend to people who need their specific areas of expertise, and it works. Now, instead of everyone trying to have experts, a similar arrangement such as this one, which clearly works, is it not possible for it to be, should we say, applied?
It is. And if you recall the conversation we had last week, I'd said one of the problems is human resource for health. And I said it's scarce. So if these experts, because we know there are few, I mean, the neurosurgeons in this country, you can probably count them from all your fingers. Okay, maybe nowadays, I mean, maybe 20 something. But that's for a whole country. So if you have them as a central place, or the counties come as economic blocks, they're already in economic blocks, and they share some of these resources, it's very possible to rotate and make sure that every Kenyan, because at the end of the day, we are serving Kenyans. We move around. Today I'm in Nairobi, tomorrow I may be in Nakuru. Something can happen in between here in Nairobi and may need to go to Naivasha. But if I go to Naivasha and that neurosurgeon, that orthopedic surgeon is not there, it has not helped me, because then you have to find for ways to come to Nairobi, transport costs, and the delay in seeking care. So for me, yes, CT, I see a role in that where you have very scarce resources, we hold them as national treasures, so that we are able to distribute and share among different counties, so that every Kenyan has a chance at getting the best possible healthcare services. And I think this is something that the Council of Governors, the national government can actually,
I mean, specifically the Ministry of Health, because the Ministry of Health does have a record of all these experts. They know them.
Yeah, they do.
And some of the specialized non-clinical expertise, like the ones we were speaking of, say the health economists, the costing experts, and all these people, who are actually very necessary. Surely, if we're talking about coordinating and ensuring that help goes to the counties that need them, because at a cost, of course,
Of course.
that the one body that can actually help coordinate, Council of Governors together with the Ministry,
Ministry of Health.
it's something that can work.
It is.
Okay?
It is.
If you look at the MES process and program, which was a complete mess,
Eric, what did you say it was? According to the Senate,
They called it
Criminal
enterprise.
Yes.
the truth is, the thinking behind it was good.
Definitely.
The thinking behind it was something that was even futuristic, if I may say so. The implementation now was riddled with what we then came to see. But the idea of pulling your interests together so that each county states what it is they need, not someone else telling them what they need. They say, and it's bought from one source. But man, it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Now, if we can do that with human resource,
I think we'll see a different change, because you find all of this they're working somewhere. So why not utilize them better?
but let's just take a look, for instance, at the way the Teacher Service Commission works. When they post teachers, it's because it is felt that a teacher is needed somewhere, isn't it? So they function to meet the needs, the educational needs that people have throughout the country.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it works in fits and starts, but it works.
Uniformly.
It works. Yes,
It works.
it works. So we already have systems and we know how they work. Why then is this one a teeth-pulling exercise?
Because it was devolved.
But now we're saying these devolved units should sit together and agree on a mechanism
You see, that's
of
the
sharing
problem.
these resources.
So why not just take it back to the national?
We said that is a whole political conversation.
Yeah,
because it
let's
needs a
have it.
constitutional amendment.
See, we can do it. We're having BBI being revived.
The thing is, there is nothing beyond just the possible. If we have it enshrined in our constitution that you will have public participation, let's public participate this thing. Let it be a conversation by all means, because these last 10 years were the process of experimenting. We're trying to prove this particular concept called devolution.
Yeah.
Okay? 10 years have gone by. Let's have a look at this devolution again.
Can we have a hybrid way maybe, of looking at, because there are positives. The positives about devolving health is that there is localized focus and there is localized attention being given to this and accountability, right? But then the downside of it is you're localizing it to the politician who is looking at 5 years, and if I can put in a lot of money into this thing, I can also steal better in this
He's
thing.
looking how to devolve that thing to himself.
Yes.
I'm also,
I can say that I have built an ICU facility then where there was none before I came in, and I can say I spent 300 billion shillings to put up an ICU facility when I have only spent 30 billion, right? I can do all those things. So the good side, and then there's the downside of it. Now, can we have a hybrid of devolution?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Devolved. Has it worked? Has it not? Should it remain devolved, or should it go back to national, or should we have some sort of hybrid?
Let it remain devolved,
Yeah.
and then throw in the hybrid ways necessary. Because if the county governments are to grow up and become adult, as in people being able to manage their own affairs, this is one of the ways in which they have to learn to manage their affairs. You have these resources, this is what you do. Figure out how best you can utilize them. We're actually not talking about the success or the failure of devolved. We are talking about the capacity of those in power to pilfer the very, very things that they are given to ensure that these services are provided for.
Yes.
The governors we've had, bar a few here and there, have kept the Auditor General's office very, very busy. Because somehow the money that they get to provide services it's like the money has a life of its own. And we understand how it has a life of its own because we have this never-ending issue and story of what people who haven't been paid for services provided. Okay, and it cuts across every sector that you have within the county. So, if we're to get to the basics of this, the issue isn't with the devolution. The devolution needs a little twist and a little tinkering here and there to make it actually work. That's for sure. But in terms of the resources, let these governors show us what it is they do, the resources that they say they have allocated in their budgets for health, and let's see the shortfalls then. But that very issue is often mired in such mystery, in such opaqueness, that you are not even sure what it is you're actually discussing. Because budget, yes, where did it go? Then it suddenly becomes
Maybe
Yes.
also because the citizens don't know the questions to ask. But let's go to the phone lines. Solomon in Mombasa. Hey, it's been a while, Solomon.
Yeah, it's been a while, for a long time.
Yes. How are you?
I'm very, very fine.
Good.
At least now you have a new governor who get paid as medics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, like medics, Mombasa only paid for the last 3 months.
So you think because you have a new governor, you'll now get paid?
We hope for the best.
Okay.
Now, my input on this is very simple. It was a bad idea to devolve the health sector. And I'll give an illustration where I got sick, dengue fever, when I was in Nairobi, and it was very hard for me to be treated. Because dengue fever and chikungunya are not predominant diseases in Nairobi.
Yep.
But since Mombasa is a predominant disease, you get medication, tests are done within an hour. In Nairobi, I was told it will take 3 days. In 3 days, I can die. So when we devolve health sector, it was not a good idea because, for example, if there's an outbreak of such a disease in a certain area, and that disease is predominant in Mombasa, for example, they can be able to put few doctors and go train the other doctor in that region. Because, for example, like malaria is predominant probably in Mombasa and Kisumu. If, for example, there's an outbreak in Nanyuki, those doctors that are well equipped when it comes to malaria and treatment can be pulled from Kisumu and Mombasa and go to Laikipia for like 3-4 months and solve that issue. But now the current status is you can't. If either you resign, then you go back.
Okay.
Then they know these are professions. It should be guided. Accountants have IPA. Teachers have TSC. Every profession. Like
But Solomon, let me ask you, if there was, because you live and work in Mombasa, you come to Nairobi, you develop symptoms of dengue fever,
Yeah.
If there was an outbreak of dengue fever in Nairobi,
Yes.
with the national government and devolved governments in place,
Yes.
what do you think would happen?
The best case scenario is probably get specialists that have idea of that diseases to come and help out. But that exchange, how is it? Because at the end of the day, the doctor, who will pay me? Is it the county or the national government? But currently, we have a scenario where if graduates from the graduates from the university, are first absorbed by the Ministry of Health for some period of years, then they can maybe look for a job at the county currently. But it is not that big, because I know friends who are doctors employed by the Ministry of Health are in Mombasa, but they are not being paid by the county, they are paid by the ministry. But that if that program there is, they should expand it more.
All right. We'll hear you, Solomon.
Okay.
Asante sana.
Okay.
Maybe you can respond to Solomon quick.
So there are two things he has raised. The first one, it's unfortunate that healthcare workers and any worker at that has to rely on the goodwill of the governor or the county boss that is there for them to get their pay for work done. I hope this next administrations would make that a thing of the past, because for work paid, people should get compensated.
Yeah.
And it's a
For work
worker's
done.
right.
For work
Yeah.
done.
It's right. So I think we should start seeing it from a violation of human rights, workers' rights, and so that people stop relying on the goodwill of whoever is there so that you get paid. The second thing is talking about, I think, is on really disease surveillance and response, which the Ministry of Health is very well equipped with specialists on that. And I think this is now where hybrid comes in, city, because you don't have so many of these people. You can second, or you can have a way of working such that they are an available resource for everyone that needs them. And then it can be agreed, for example, the Ministry of Health can pay them because now they'll be domiciled at the Ministry of Health, but are available to assist other counties wherever they are. Like now it is giving an example of if there's an outbreak of malaria in Central, for example, Nanyuki or somewhere, because it's not really a common disease there, what do you do? So if you have that resource at a national level or at a economic block or regional level, then it's easy to deploy to go and assist, because outbreaks do not happen all the time. And so you'd have, and different places will have different needs. So you're able to redeploy. So maybe from what Solomon is saying, it's a justification to have a hybrid system for these particular specializations that you cannot afford to have so many of them, and you cannot afford to have them just domiciled in one area or just domiciled only in Afya House, where they're not helping every Kenyan as should be the case. Yeah.
Let's hear from Josfat, who's in Nairobi. Good morning, Josfat. Hello, Josfat.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
How you guys doing?
Good.
We're well.
Oh, good. So my first time in SpiceFM.
Karibu sana.
Sana.
Yeah, so I was just calling and tell you that you guys are doing a good job. I normally listen to you every day. So I'm excited to be with you and listening to you.
Asante sana and karibu.
Asante.
Ndu atakupigia baadaye, atakutumia keki.
Asante sana.
Make sure you do that.
Making promises on my behalf sounds like a government. Look, I mean, so still continuing with this and saying, okay, so if we're saying that certain things, so it seems to me, just like maybe you were alluding to, that the structures can be in place, but there has to be an injection of goodwill to actually have these things done. But it seems like a really tall order for me. That why are we saying that here you are, we say, okay, we've agreed that this system ought to be set up. But then we're still kind of cajoling people to say, okay, please, do your job.
Make it work.
Please. As opposed to just saying, pick up the mantle and do the thing. Get it done. Why do we have to add that element of cajoling and saying, please, can you
called
see
supervision.
it fit within your good graces to do that thing which you have? I mean,
If your heart
It's
wills.
called supervision. Guys, can I pick this one first
Please
before we
pick.
continue? Jane in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're-
SpiceFM?
We
We are well. Thank
Well,
you.
you might want to rethink your response.
yeah, well.
Jane, it has to do with today being Friday. It does strange things to one's systems.
I know you're looking forward to the weekend, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to re-emphasize on what Solomon said in terms of the devolving of the health sector, which I think was not a very good idea, because doctors can be used to assist doctors. Like now, what they're talking about, the outbreak of malaria in the UK, and they may not be very conversant with what to do. And I just also wanted to give an example about something that I learned a few months ago in regard to dengue fever, where one of the greatest effects it has is the depletion of platelets. And harvesting of platelets is quite common in Mombasa, but not a very common thing in Nairobi. And I only came to find out about that because we had a cancer patient and the platelets were low and they needed to do some platelet harvesting. And Kenyatta Referral Hospital, University Referral Hospital apparently does it, but it takes 3 days. And it was an emergency. Aga Khan Hospital does it, but at a very, very exorbitant price. So I happened to post this request on a wall, and that's when a lady answered and said, no, talk to your doctors. They know where they can get the platelets harvested. And when I called her, I found out that she's from Mombasa, and she told me that happens all the time. So you can see when now these situations are happening. I mean, the issue of platelets, that it's only now that in Nairobi, we are starting to hear the discussions of platelet harvesting. And so I think it's something that probably our government needs to reconsider and probably, take back the health sector to the national government so that at least people can continue getting help, because people can assist each other whenever these situations do take place. Because finally we lost the patient, and I feel that probably if we had been able to intervene in the situation, probably something would have happened. But we are always hopeful on situations like this. So maybe I may have been wrong. Maybe it was the patient's time to go. But, we always feel that had this been, addressed, faster, it could have saved the patient.
So you think it's a lack of information and awareness between one hospital and others?
No, not really. I guess sometimes what happens is experiences. You see, like now what Solomon was talking about.
Yeah.
I know that dengue fever, I think, is common in Mombasa and I think Turkana region. So whenever they have a patient who has that problem, it's not a big deal. They know what to do. They know and the things to look out for. You see, like now, first test the platelets. What is the, where are the platelets? But in Nairobi, by the time they try to diagnose and figure out what to look for, because it's not a common thing, it may take a while.
Right.
So I think it's just now what he was saying. And again, now, if the doctors now belong to the county government, you see now they are not flexible, in terms of saying, can we ask this person to come over and help us? Because I think previously this used to happen.
Okay. Thank you, Jane.
Yeah.
Thank you. Zachary, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, you people.
Good morning, person.
Good morning, person. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And I arrived with you in the morning according to the story you are talking about, the lady in Nakuru. I was supposed to cry, but I laughed because you laughed also. Okay? Your laughter was infectious. Now, because we are functionally short of time,
Yes.
let me be an amicus curiae. To the discussion, general discussion that you're having, and say this, I told you that for the last 3 weeks, I've been down with some very, continuous cold and pneumonia. Let me tell you, Eric, and the company.
Tell us.
I found that if you are in Kenya and you do not have money and you get sick, even a mild headache, migraine, I interacted with the doctors during that time, During that trying moment, I interacted with the doctors, And I was able to glean words like migraine, so some words, yeah.
Okay.
But the general conclusion of that, if you fall sick in Kenya and you do not have money, cheddar, yeah, count yourself a very, 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 very possible or likely candidate of the house that doesn't want people to be here. And I said, I have been saying this, that let all government, health be taken to the central government. Somebody was trying to say yesterday in another forum that if you go to Gatodo South Hospital, level 5, yeah, you're going to be diagnosed. You'll find that if you are prescribed, the guy selling medicine, the chemist, just next to the hospital's gate, yeah, main gate. And that is true, I've seen. And that is where you are going to be directed. Go to not to the first chemist, the second one, painted is blue or what, buy there. Another one you go, not to the brewer now, go to the pink chemist, buy there, yeah. You are being directed that way from the hospital. And if you look at these doctors, they are not motivated, they are not happy. It means that they have not gotten their salaries. So they are trying to say that the government may supply the medicine, yeah, the drugs, but then these guys have got a way to find how they are going to run in the chemist, yeah. So let me use this word, yeah.
So they're running their own businesses.
Yeah, they are running their businesses with the drugs that are supposed to be given to us. Yeah,
would it be different? Bringing you back to topic. Would it be different if health was not devolved?
It would be. I believe it would be.
How?
It would be because it would be managed from a central point. And our dear, that girl, that lady who is there, Mercy Colleen, yeah? And I hear her, by the way.
Hail Mercy.
Your Majesty.
Mercy, she's there.
Yes, I'm here, Zachary, I'm listening.
Mercy, and I like you are now talking like our government official. I don't know what I can say. Very good to you. And may God bless your tidings.
Zachary, I want to ask you a question.
Yep.
Are you healed? This pneumonia that you say you had, are you better?
I'm recuperating. See, I told you I rehearsed a lot of words from these guys.
Recuperating.
and Baba Izera is now telling people that I'm convalescing. Can you mention that word?
Convalescing.
Convalescing, yeah? Is it convergence or convalescing?
Convalescing.
You're convalescing.
Good, thank you. That's why I like you guys. That word now. Otherwise, have a nice day.
You too, Zachary.
Thank you.
And a nice weekend.
You too.
You too.
Ugua pole.
Asante.
Right.
Okay.
Zachary.
Devolved or not, listen to what Jen was saying, and she was, still going back to what Solomon had said. If it's nationalized, then it's easier to redeploy and transfer. Is that necessarily the case? Currently, how does it work?
No, currently, most of health workforce is with the counties. So you're either employed by now Nairobi City County will come back.
Yep.
You'll be employed by Machakos, Busia, whichever county.
Okay.
You're an employee of that county. If you want to move from the Busia to Nakuru, there's a whole process. You have to make sure there's a vacancy in Nakuru for you to go to, and somebody has to come and replace you in Busia. So it's not as
meaning the reference is when it was under the Ministry of Health.
Current.
No, currently.
So current, let's say there's a vacancy in Machakos. The Machakos Public Service Board advertises the vacancy. Now, you are a worker in Busia. You can apply.
Yes.
If you go for interviews and you pass, what's the process of you resigning from one and going to the other?
So I think that one is you resign and join. I'm not sure about that one.
Okay.
The one I was talking about is inter-county
Transfers.
where you have to be let go.
Seconded.
They have to be released by County A to be taken by County B, but County A has to get
A replacement.
It's from the people who've tried it, it's next to impossible to do inter-county transfer. So what has happened eventually is people just resign and go because it is difficult.
Okay.
But at the Ministry of Health, as was before, the Ministry of Health has like a bird's eye view. Turkana, Kwale, Kilifi, Lamu, everywhere, and see this place has few, but this place has many. So let's transfer. And you see, with that, you just get a transfer, and it's up to you to go and serve Kenyans on the other side. So it becomes easy because your payroll remains the same.
But in terms
now,
of managing like disease outbreaks, say there was a disease outbreak in this county, would the national government not then play a role, the Ministry of Health?
it does have a role because of there's the Department of Disease Surveillance and something at the Ministry of Health, which coordinates with a similar one with a county. So every county has that. And I think this one was really done well during COVID, where now the reporting mechanism had to come from county all the way up, and even how to respond coming from the top down. So there was a really good intergovernmental collaboration and coordination. So in terms of disease surveillance for those reportable diseases like cholera, COVID, Marburg, and all of those things, there's a system. And I think what you're trying to say here is because those kind of specializations are very few and far in between. And making the case for a hybrid, for example.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you utilize all of these human resources to serve each and every
Optimally.
Kenyan? Yes.
Okay.
So
Mercy.
there may be a case for
So this
national
this
government.
conversation continues on Friday.
Definitely.
We must, and then hopefully even by then we'll have more data and figures to share. Thank you very much for joining us, Marcy.
Thank you very much.
Have a lovely weekend.
You too.
And thank you for everybody tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Have a lovely weekend.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.